Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we are tackling my Philodendron Splendid, which I should have dealt with a long time ago. I was planning on doing it when I potted up my big Philodendron Dean McDowell, which I don't think you can see at this angle, can you? Yes, you can. And that just took so long that I didn't get this done, but it very much still needs doing, so I am hoping to tackle this today. I'm a little bit nervous. As you can see, it's quite a big plant. So this is on 2 poles at the moment. I've already chopped it before because it was on 3 poles. So it's currently on the floor, the pot's on the floor, I'm just holding the top of the pole here. So I'll hold it up so you can have a look. So that's what it's looking like. There's actually not very many leaves on here. They're obviously just really big. So that's the newest one, which is absolutely huge. And then that was the one before that. Again, still huge. And then there was this one, then this one, then this one, and then that one down there, that is the bottom leaf. So yeah, the pole, basically the reason that this is so urgent is because, well, one, it's growing off the top of the pole. Hopefully you can see their aerial roots have actually gone crispy as well. It's really bad. I'm gonna have to chop them. I should have done this way before now. But you can see, hopefully, the pole, can you see? It's just completely bent. So this plant was living next door, sort of propped up in a corner, and it basically just completely fell over. And I thought, right, I'm not gonna like put it back in that position. I'm gonna pull it out and then leave it in the way, so I make sure I get on with this. So that's the plan for today. If you're new here, thank you very much for joining. My name is Rihanna and this is a channel all about houseplants. So I think the plan, oh, I didn't show you as well, you probably saw, it is putting out another leaf just here. So that is another reason that I really need to sort this out. So yeah, I'm just going to be chopping this. I'm not even sure how. I was thinking about just leaving these 2 leaves on and then chopping the rest into individual nodes. So I would have the top cut and then 1, 2, 3. Then that would leave me with 4 different propagations. Obviously this is a huge plant. I am going to have to find space for those propagations. But I think that's the best thing to do. I think I'm going to start with that, and then if I decide to chop the top any more, then I will. But yeah, this plant is just huge and it's so wobbly, I definitely can't get a 3rd pole on it, and it definitely won't fit where it is, or where it was with 3 poles on it. This leaf was you can kind of see it's facing down a little bit. Just because it was kind of wedged in against the eaves of the house. So yeah, it needs to move or be cut. So I think I'm going to do both. I think I'm going to cut it and move it because it's not an ideal spot for it now that it's so big. It was fine when the leaves were half the size of this. It looked really nice, but now it's just like wedged in the corner and it doesn't sit nicely. They're all just kind of shoved in against the walls and it doesn't look good. So we're basically going to start again with this plant. So yes, I'm going to change the camera angle and we'll get started. Okay, so I think we're just going to have to go like this. You can't see too well, I will move you, but the top of the plant is right up here. I don't even think you can see. No, that's the 2nd to last leaf, and then obviously the pot's down here. So let me move you over this way so you can see the pot. I've just got all my supplies over there. So this plant isn't actually attached to, it's not in the pot, because where I cut it before there were no roots. So I'm hoping to be able to just take this pot straight off. I think there are roots going down into it, but I'm hoping there's not going to be too many. Let me move you around. Right, okay, so I've just moved the camera over here so you can see better what I'm doing. So yeah, as I'm saying, it's not attached. It doesn't go into the pot, but I think there are some roots in here, so interesting to see how many. Oh my goodness, okay, way more than I was thinking there was going to be. Okay, that's good, I suppose. But yeah, I just wasn't expecting that at all. Right, so let's just try and get these. Actually, do you know what I might do first before I start that is just actually chop it, just so it can start callousing. Should I do that now? Yes, let's do that now. Okay, so I'm definitely going to, now I've moved you over here, I need to come this way. Right, so yeah, this is definitely going to be chopped. I think I'm going to have to get rid of some of this internodal spacing just because there's quite a lot and it's not really necessary, so that kind of thing can just go in the bin. So that's the first one. Second one, again, I'm going to get rid of, gosh, right, okay. Again, I'm going to get rid of some of that internodal spacing. These can come off as well, but obviously not needed. It's going to go about there. And then about here. Oh, okay, that one's not rooted, so that's fine. That one can go straight in moss. I'm just gonna take off the remainder of that cassifil there. It's already got a growth point. This plant is obviously fairly mature, so I don't think it's gonna have an issue rooting, but yeah, there's the growth point, and obviously there's some crispy roots, so I'll just trim those up and I'm sure that will get rooting in no time. So that is that leaf. There is some damage. I don't know if you can, how well you can see, there's some up here and there's more on one of the other leaves, and that's from where when it fell over the last time, because it's the second time that it's fallen over. So yeah, that is what that is, but apart from that, the leaves are absolutely immaculate. Okay, so keep going. Again, I'm going to take some of that internodal spacing away, and the stem is getting really quite chunky up here. I don't know how well it's coming off on camera, but down here it was really quite small, and up here much thicker. This is where the pole splits as well, so I'll have to see what we can do there when we get there. And then, do you know, I might leave the 3 leaves on, just because having, oh, I don't know, I was going to say having said I would leave 2, I kind of like it with 3, but then this plant grows so quickly. I think I'm just going to do it, and then it'll be decision made. Because it's only going to be a problem in a few months' time when it's outgrown a pole again and it's falling over again. So that's decision made. We're on to 2 leaves at the top. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue trying to free the roots. I'd rather not have to cut this pole if possible, but if I have to, then I have to. Okay, I think I'm definitely going to have to take the pole apart at the back, because that's not really moving at all. And then I'll see if I have to completely take the pole apart, but let's try this first. It's just a bit tricky because I can't twist the plant, obviously. Right, okay, so that's also separated those 2 poles. So I don't know how difficult it's going to be to get these off. Quite difficult, I think, going by how this is going. There's another zip tie down there. I'm just looking for my other scissors because those are my good ones and I'm not supposed to be sticking in mud. No, I can't find them, so it's going to have to be these ones. I'll just try and get some of the mud off. Right, okay, so that's now open. So that's actually made that much easier. Those roots are pulling through now. Okay. Right, okay, so that is the roots all completely taken out of the soil and the bottom of the pole. So that's kind of free now. So now I need to start working on this, which I don't know why I thought this wasn't so rooted in here. I think possibly just because it hasn't been that long since I kind of redid this. I don't exactly know how long it's been, but I didn't think it had been that long, but this plant does grow very, very vigorously, so I guess it was probably silly of me to think that it wasn't going to be really, really rooted in here. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going, basically. Right, okay, so I have separated this, which is this one leaf, which I'm not doing a very good job of showing you, this leaf, and the rest of the pole. Obviously it's still attached to this half of the pole. Honestly, its roots are huge. Those ones that were in the bottom of the pot have all come from this one node. So I'm just basically working on getting this last bit of moss off here. But anyway, we've made progress because I have now separated the two poles, which is really, really good. There are really extensive roots, so I wouldn't necessarily mind trimming some, but I think obviously if I trim them here, then they're all going to come off because it's at the top, so I do need to be quite careful and try and just get untangle as much as I possibly can. Obviously there is inevitably quite a lot of root breakage going on here, but as I said, this plant is really vigorous, so I'm not too worried about it, but I just don't want to be taking off all of those really big lovely roots that it has put lots of effort into growing. So I think it's pretty much all attached, but I've got this one kind of much smaller root out of the front of the pole, and then basically there's just this huge thing here of root, which is all one big mass that I'm really struggling to get out. So I think I'm going to snip some of this out. I don't know how much I'm going to need to snip out, but I imagine quite a bit to get this out because it is quite big. And I think I'd rather just have a bit of a, I mean I can still reuse this moss pole, it will just have a bit of a hole in the front, which I don't really think matters that much. Right, okay, so that one's coming out. And how well you can see what I'm doing, because it probably just looks like a huge mass of roots, but that's one of them out, and then I've got this one here, which is coming, and this has got the huge amount of roots that were in the pot, in the soil. Let's try and get those through. There, right, okay, so yeah, it's just got a bit of a hole in there now, but it's really not a problem. I can still reuse that, because I do like to reuse my poles. One, for money, and two, because it's a whole load of plastic. There's really nothing wrong with it. I'd rather use it again than just throw it in the bin. Okay, so this is the second one. So lots and lots of roots. Might end up trimming some of those off. And that is the leaf. Now I might just put that in the pot so I can just move it to the side. And then that can move out the way as well. That's just the sort of back I put on the poles just to keep some of the moisture in. And then essentially I'm just going to continue doing that. I'm kind of hoping this side isn't going to be so bad, this side, this pole, just because obviously the further up the pole you go, the less mature the plant, well I say mature, they're more mature but they're less established because they've been there less time, obviously. So I'm kind of hoping we're going to have big roots like these, but not too many secondary roots, which is what really gets tangled up and takes ages to get off. So I'm kind of thinking this second half might be a bit quicker. So I've basically just opened up half of the pole, so I'm just going to open up the other half. Right, and we can take that off and basically just do the same thing again. So I will catch up with you when I have untangled all these. Okay, so I have got another one free. Again, it was easier because, as you can hopefully see, there's one very long like root, but there's not too many secondary roots. So that's a nice plant, a nice sort of cutting with established roots already. This is what I was talking about, the damage from when it fell over the first time. But other than that, I mean, these leaves are so, like, that's my hand just for comparison, so I don't actually think it's coming off on camera how big they are. They are absolutely huge. So that is the third one. And I should mention as well that I did make sure this plant was really hydrated before I started, so I knew I was going to be doing this in the next few days. So I think for the last kind of like 3 days I've been absolutely drenching the moss pole because it was quite dry before I started. It's literally been living in the corner of the shower because, as I said, it couldn't stand up. So I did manage to kind of wedge it in the corner of the shower, which was good because then it meant every time that somebody had a shower we could just kind of turn the temperature down just before we got out, or you know, just as we were getting in or something, and just like drench the moss pile to make sure it was properly moist. And it is, there's no crunchy moss in here at all, which is really good. So this plant is in a pretty good place to be propagated. It's always best to propagate plants when they are fully hydrated. It just gives them a much better chance of recovering. So yes, that is what I did with this one. Okay, so I have got this one free, there we go. Quite a lot of roots on this one as well. Hopefully you can see there's some big ones kind of hanging off there. And again, I did cut a square out of the moss pole just because they all kind of, I need to actually take it off because you can probably, hopefully see there. It's still got part of the moss pole attached to it, so I will just obviously snip that off. But this bit was really quite chunky and I didn't think I was going to be able to unpick it, so I'll just, again, the moss pole will have a bit of a hole in it, but that's not going to be an issue to use it again. So I've just got to get this off of here now. There we go, so that one's fine. I am going to pick some more of the moss off just because I'm going to be putting these in soil because obviously they're quite established and I don't think they need to be in moss. So I'm going to have to spend a bit more time just cleaning that up a bit, but for now that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to put that over there as well. And then we have my top cut. So this, we'll see how easy this is to get off. There shouldn't be too many roots in here. Hopefully it won't take me too long. Right, I have finally finished, so that is that one. This, let's try and show you, how can you see? It's so big it won't fit on the frame, but that's the two leaves from the top, and these are the roots. So I was going to say I was going to put them in moss, but I'm not really sure it needs to go in moss because they are There's not tons of them, but they are really quite, I think they're fine. I think I'm going to just put them in soil. I'm just going to snip off the crispy ends of the aerials, which are crispy because I let them dry out and I shouldn't have done. But that's absolutely fine. So I'm now going to basically have a mass clear up, sort all of this out, and then I will come back on when I am ready to pot up. Okie dokie, so we're back. I think the first thing I'm going to do is pot up the biggest one just because it's taking up the most space. So let's get that one out of the way. I am, as I said, I'm going to put that one in soil because I think the roots are fine. I haven't actually picked off any more moss because I kind of forgot about that. So I might just leave it. There's not actually that much on here. I think it just looks like it because it's kind of all together, but it's really not too bad. So I think I'm just going to go ahead. Hang on a minute. I'm not thinking this through very clearly because I need to put this plant on a moss pole like immediately because there's no point in putting this up without a moss pole. So in that case, let's leave that one. I might just try and tuck it down there and hope that that's fine. Okay, so we've got this one, which again, I've put this one on the potting mat. I just picked it up, but actually I'm going to leave that one till last because it's got no roots, and I think the longer I leave it the better because it's just going to give it longer to callus. So that's that one. So I'm not off to a very good start here, am I? Let me go and grab the other cuttings. Right, so I've got these two here, which was the one with all the roots. Oh, hang on, is there 3 here? I can't count. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the biggest one because I've got the kind of pot prepared for that, and it's going to go back into the pot that it came out of, which might be a bit of a squeeze. In fact, you know, I might actually root prune this because that's a lot, isn't it? I'm going to, just because I don't have very many pots. Any big pots, should I say, so I'm just going to chop that there, and then all of that can go in the bin. It's going to grow them back so quickly. Like, this plant is crazy, and the leaf, it actually isn't that big. It was the bottom one, so this amount of roots I think is absolutely fine. As I was saying with the last one, it has got quite a bit of moss on it, so I actually might just try and pick some more of that off as much as I kind of can quite quickly. See, none of it wants to come off, and I don't want to start ripping the roots, so I'm just going to leave it. Again, it's not as much as it looks. I think it's because it's so bundled up, but it is not that bad. Okay, having said it's not that bad, I have just spent some time picking a bit more moss off, so that's going to be it. So in the bottom of this, I've put leca already, and I've also put in just some soil on the bottom to cover that up, and then I'm just going to pop this in here. I'm not going to be putting the rest of these on moss poles because I'm not keeping them. These are going to go straight onto the Etsy shop because I obviously cannot accommodate, I don't know how many have I even got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't accommodate 5 more, well, 4 more because I'm going to keep the original Splendids because they're just enormous. So that's the plan with those. Obviously I'm going to wait for them to establish and everything. So yes, they won't be going on until the spring at the earliest because I want to make sure they're all growing and, you know, the roots are established properly. I'm just topping this off with some of my soil mix I've got in a bin here. So that one is done, and then I'm not going to water these because they were just watered. I'll just keep an eye on them and I'll water them once they're drying out. So that's the first one. Again, just to give you an idea of the size of them, they are pretty big even though that is the smallest one. Okay, so that's the first one done, and then There's this one with some pretty long roots. Again, I'm just going to spend a tiny bit of time just trying to get rid of some of this moss. Okay, so I've got some more of that moss off, and then I've just got this 1 litre pot here. I could have gone a little bit bigger, but I don't want to put too much stress on these roots and putting it in a really big pot. I'd rather put them in a smaller pot, because obviously it's quite a big change for it, going from moss for a start and then also going from being part of a much larger plant to now having to sustain itself. So I'd rather keep it in a smaller pot. I think that's just, I personally, that's the way I'd rather do things. I'd rather put things in a too small pot than a too big pot most of the time. Yeah, there are exceptions to that rule with things like, I don't know, monsteras maybe. I would definitely size up a monstera deliciosa, and you know, just plants that I'm really familiar with, I would do it with. But for this one, I think it's just better to keep it in a smaller pot. I'll just keep an eye on it. All it'll mean is that it will need watering more than it would otherwise. And I'd rather, in this weather, for new propagations, I'd rather keep them on the drier side, just to avoid any root rot, obviously. Okay, so that, I think this is the next leaf. I think we're kind of going in order because it's slightly bigger. Again, for comparison, that is my hand. So that was a big size up compared to the other one. And something that I haven't actually mentioned, and I meant to say in the beginning, now the plant is really, really maturing, I feel like the verrucosum is really, really coming through. So if you don't know, the Splendid is a hybrid between the Philodendron melanochrysum and the Philodendron verrucosum. And this one, and as I'm sure you've all seen sort of like younger versions of this plant, you can see the verrucosum, but you can definitely see the melanochrysum in there. Even the backs of the leaves, none of that red verrucosum. But when I'm looking at the top of this plant, which I'll just pull up now, so this leaf, I just think, look at the veination, is much lighter, it's giving much more verrucosum, and then this one even more so. It looks much, much more like a verrucosum. And this one, being the newest leaf, has a very, very red back. I'm hoping it's going to come off on camera, and I can't really show you very easily, but you can see the red back. And then even this one, which is fully hardened off, has still kept that red back, which it wasn't doing, that wasn't presenting on the less mature plant. So sorry, I'm really struggling to show you this, but yeah, I just think let's try and get them both up here for a comparison. And again, as I said, this one isn't like it's not mature, it's still pretty big. How can I get this on here? Like this maybe, can you see that? Hopefully you can see what I mean, like the veination on this one is so much lighter. Even the shape of it, I think it's slightly almost more pointed rather than slightly more rounded like this one is. Hopefully you can see what I mean by that, but that's just something that I've noticed. I don't know if that's everybody's specimen, I don't know, maybe that's just common knowledge, I don't know, but it's not something I was aware of, so I thought that was quite interesting and I wanted to point it out to you. Right, now we have this one, which has probably the smallest root, well I don't know, it's not too dissimilar to the biggest, the top cut. So I'm going to go with soil because I think they're big enough. And I have this square pot here. I have put my leca ages away, so I will just reach over and grab that. Right, so again, leca in the bottom as always, and then a layer of soil on the top. This is definitely on the small side, this pot, but yeah, I don't know, it's not that, it's, the roots are fine. It's when you try and wedge in the chonk that it's a bit dodgy, but actually that's fine. So I don't know if this is going to stand up. I'm thinking it's not going to. So I might have to just find a heavy cover pot. or, well, yeah, heavy cover pot. I might have to stake it as well. If I do, I'll do that off camera, because it's not very interesting just staking something. But yeah, I've got so many videos I need to make. I really want to repot my Esmeraldents. That is really desperate because it's coming out the bottom of the pot. The same with the, what's it called? Why have I just blanked on the name? Sorry, that's that one done. And for a bit of a size comparison, that is how big that one is. Why have I forgot? Oh, Philodendron patriciae. That's what I'm trying to remember. I just realised I could probably move you up a little bit and you could still probably see what I'm doing. Right, yeah, my Esmeraldents and my patriciae are really desperate for repots. I've been putting it off because they're in big pots anyway. The pots are about that big. I don't have cover pots for anything bigger than that. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. You can kind of see this one. Can you see it on camera? There's nothing in it at the moment because my Regal Shield is currently being watered over there. But I have got a couple of pots that size that I could maybe do some like musical chairs with pot covers. But yeah, they need doing. And the other thing that needs doing is my Anthurium Vitarifolium. So I don't know where my brain is. I'm very hungry is what I'm going to put it down to. Yes, my Vitarifolium is... I'm so cross with myself. I watered it the other day and I put it down in the bottom of the like bucket I was watering in. And that was fine. And anyway, a bit later I came back, picked it up to, you know, drain it. And I just thought, oh, look at the bottom to see if there's any roots coming out the bottom. And there were, but they've been snapped off. And I was like, that is so weird. And I kind of looked even closer and I was like, that's just happened. So I looked in my watering bucket and they'd obviously grown kind of down. And then when I put it on the bottom of the watering bucket, it just snapped the roots off. So I'm really annoyed with myself because I love my Vitarifolium. It's currently putting out a new leaf. So maybe I'll wait for that one. I mean, it's like this big at the moment, and obviously the leaves on my Vitarifolium are kind of like that kind of size, so it's got quite a lot of expanding to do. So maybe I'll do the Esmeraldents and the Patriciae, and then while that's expanding, and then I'll do that one afterwards. I don't know. I've got a pot in mind. I managed to find a big see-through pot. I love see-through pots, particularly for Anthurium. I don't really know why, but I just prefer to put those in a see-through pot. Anyway, I really need to crack on because, as I said, I'm very hungry and I'm just sat here chin wagging. Okay, I do not know what pots to put this in because... Oh no, I do know, don't I? And I need to get a moss pole. Brain. Okay, so let's just put this one in moss so that that can be done. Probably just that will be fine. Yeah. Okay, I am going to... What did I do with it? There. I'm going to reuse the moss that came out of the moss pole. So it might have a few bits of broken rooting, but I've picked out the worst of it. I think it will be fine. So I'm just going to wedge that in there, and I would ideally put this in a prop box. I prefer putting propagations in prop boxes, but there's absolutely no way that is going to fit in any one of my prop boxes, so it's going to have to be fine. It will be fine. I've propagated this many times, not in propagation boxes because they don't fit in propagation boxes because they're huge. So I'm not particularly worried. I'd just rather it was, particularly because it's December, but it's going to have to be fine. I'm sure it will be. It's got a new growth point already, which I'm just trying to move the moss so it's not all lent upright against it. But yeah, that's that one. That is my hand against it. It is huge. Maybe that's the smallest one. Don't know. No, I don't think it is. That actually, this might be, I think it is the smallest, but it's just not the first one it put out. I think this was, I'm trying to think back to when I snipped it. I think this was the second leaf on the plant, which would kind of make sense because Would it make sense? No, it wouldn't make sense. I don't know why. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I think this one was smaller because it was the first leaf it put out after it had been chopped, so it probably just had a bit of a hit. But yeah, it didn't miss a beat after that, as you can see from the rest of the leaves, and that's not exactly small, is it? That is definitely not going to stand up, so we'll be needing a cover pot for that. Okay, I need to find... I might just do something really stupid because I know that time is ticking on and I've got so much work to do today. This is my lunch break, which is why I'm hungry. I think I am going to do something stupid, and I am just going to put that in a pot with no moss pole. Just temporarily, and I know I'm saying this and it's probably going to be months before I get back to it, but it needs to not be. I will make it a priority. We'll get back to it and we'll put it on a moss pole. And I don't know what I've done with the pot that I had made for it. I've probably used it for something else. Yeah, I did. Great. Is that going to fit? Definitely not, but I don't have another option. Oops. Yeah, it actually is going to fit. That's going to be fine. Yeah, I just don't have time for making a moss pole because I don't know where my zip ties are. I think I'm going to have to go out to the workshop to find them. And I've got to tidy all this up. And I've got absolutely tons of work to do. So we're just going to skip that. My battery's about to die, so before I start doing this, I'm just going to change it. Okay, so yeah, put lacquer in there, and then we'll just put a bit of soil in, and then this plant is so small for the size of this plant, it's ridiculous. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get back to it. Okay, so I'm going to get this in as deep as I can. And then those, I don't know if you can see, but there's some of the aerial roots that have come from that second node up there. They're actually going to reach into the pot, so that's good. And this is 100% going to need to lean on something and go in a heavy pot probably and have a stake. And yes, I will just have to make it very much a priority to get back to this and put it on a pole because this is not going to last for literally 5 minutes. But I've got what I wanted. I really wanted to get this done today and I have achieved that, so that is good. Okay, so I'm going to have to just probably immediately lean this up against something, but that is what we have. And then just because I've done it with all the rest, I will try and show you. That is my hand against the leaf, and the same with that one. Okay, I think I'm literally gonna have to do my outro like this because I can't put this plant down. So yeah, that is going to be it for today. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you would like to see updates on this plant, then do hit that subscribe button. And yeah, as I say, I will be very soon getting this plant out again to put it on a moss pole. Maybe by then we'll have... No, I'm going to do it before this new leaf is out, so ignore that. It's going to be done before the new leaf is out. But yeah, that's it. If you did enjoy this video, please do give me a like. It would really, really help my channel. And that is going to be it until the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!